feel like it's been so long, but we are back. This is a Ready to Love. We are actually doing 2 episodes in one, episode 7 and episode 8. Stay tuned. Hi there, Simply Subbies. Welcome back to Simply Stacey YouTube channel. This is your girl Stacey, and we are doing Ready to Love. We are talking about episode number 7 entitled The X-Files, and then episode number 8, Meet the Homie, I believe is what it's called. So yeah, let's just get right into it. There was a week where we were off, and then I actually was out of town this past weekend for a christening of my goddaughter in Baltimore. So I did not get around to filming episode number 7. So we're doing them both at the same time, and it's okay because, you know, it's gonna be good regardless. Okay, so episode 7 was the X-Files. So the guys were going to meet the exes of their potential ladies, and y'all, I'm gonna be honest, there's only a couple of couples where I was like, oh, okay, cool. I think I could see these people really together after the show. Let me tell y'all this before we get started. There's always some drama surrounding these couples that be on Ready to Love. So apparently Aisha and Dante from season 5, they lasted, they were still together. And apparently he didn't cheat on her. He got a 4th baby on the way is what the vlogs and blogs are saying. And I actually watched her. She did a YouTube on her channel. And basically she said, yeah, he cheated on her with not 1, not 2, but multiple women. And he was using the basis of being on the show to like pull women and sleep with them. And she was very hurt by it. She did love him, and she feels like she was bamboozled, honey. So I'm hoping these couples, the ones that do decide to stay together after this, listen, I hope they both on the same page and no one is playing the other one. Now, I have not heard Dante's side, so I'm not going to say that everything she is saying is 100% factual. There's always her side, his side, and then the truth somewhere there in the middle. But anyway, let's get back to these X-Files. So first up, they're at the ladies' lounge. So remember, we were left with the cliffhanger. Takia says, we're in the ladies' lounge and I do not want to be around Eric anymore. I think he needs to work on himself. And I'm not interested in being here. I need to figure out if I'm still going to be on this show at all. So that's where we left off. There was a whole week in between. We know what the hell was happening. And then finally, we're wrapping that up. So the kid does decide she wants to pursue her other connections. So she's going to stick around. And Tommy's like, well, what happened? She was very vague in what happened. She just said something like it was her, Eric, and some other fellas. They were out. They were taking a picture. And he had his arms around her like a prom pose. She says she made a joke like, oh, look like we're going to the prom. And he counters with, well, this ain't no prom pose. And then she says he aggressively touches her. She don't really go into details. So I'm like, okay, so I guess he gets fresh for her. She's like, I'm a lady. You do not do that. And, you know, I guess she told him as such. So Tommy was like, well, you know what? I'm going to have a talk with Eric. I'm going to have to talk to him. And she was like, please do. I think he needs to be really working on himself. Anyway, Tommy says, okay, but this week, y'all in charge. Y'all exes are going to meet y'all current boos. And, you know, they'll give you some insight, you know. The first group. So it is Joy. And Joy actually is meeting with Laverne and her ex, Sean. And then Clifton will be joining them a little bit later. Joy and Laverne are talking to Sean. And, you know, he says that he's excited to meet with Joy and go on a date with her because she's loud, she's joking, she's more of an extrovert, which means that's all of the things that Ace is not. We all know that. But this is what I will say. I will say that Laverne and Joy do have this kind of connection, but Joy has made it known that her real true connection is with Clifton. So really, I'm like, Laverne is probably just like a filler day. Anyway, so Laverne actually holds his own with Sean. He's talking to him. He's like, what did you like about her? And I think he said she's loud. You know, she's an extrovert. She has a good sense of humor and stuff like that. Joy was like, he ain't fooling you. It was that green dress I had on. He was like, yeah, that dress was nice. Then Clifton walks in. Now, mind you, these guys don't know that this is what this week is. So they're a little bit taken aback when they do see the ex-Sean present. And Clifton, when I say his vibe was like real kind of off and negative, like he ain't never seen this show before because they've been doing this quite a while. Of course, he's towering over everybody. He's just like this brute of a guy. But yeah, he's looking awkward. He was like, this is going to be awkward. And basically he's like, so this is your ex. So what is y'all's current relationship like? How is that? And so the ex was like, man, I ain't going to hold you up, but you know, playing a jealous card is not going to, you know, win with her. It's not going to get you far with her. And Clifton was like, I don't got no time to be jealous because I know that when exes be lingering, you know, something could go into. So basically, he started talking about some past stuff without talking about it. So the ex was like, well, it sounded like you coming off a little jealous. He was like, no, I'm not jealous. I've done the work. I've gone to counseling. I still go to counseling, whatever. So it did sound like he done work on himself. But I will say his vibe and how he was acting was like, it's not that big a deal. It's her ex, honey. She's here with you on the show. Just enjoy the time. Laverne was like kind of jokey with them and like, man, when Clifton get here, just make sure if she asks you who it is, pick me and all this stuff. Like he was kind of joking with the ex, just making conversation. I think because he really didn't care that much. Clifton was putting on a little bit more like, what is y'all relationship? Do y'all talk every day? Are y'all on the phone? What's going on? What is it? So it seemed like there was a little bit of tension, but they do get through it. They ask more questions and ultimately, in the end, the guy Sean, the ex-Sean, did say that he thinks that Clifton was more Joy's speed, and Laverne was more like surface level. He wasn't really getting deep. It looked like Clifton did the work. He was like, but I will say the riskier choice would be Clifton because, you know, he did get that kind of sort of jealous vibe. She was like, when have I ever, you know, not taking a risk? When have I ever played it safe? Because I'm Joy and that is not what I do. He was like, yeah, you're right, but I think he would be a better fit for you. So she was like, okay, you know, ultimately it's my own decision, but thank you for that. Okay, so after Joy's date with her exes, Eric and Tommy actually meet up. He's like, bro, tell me what's going on, how you feeling? He's like, I'm not feeling good. You know, I never want to disrespect anybody. And I found out later that that kid felt disrespected. So I'm like, what? How did this actually play out? Because how she said it was like immediately she wasn't feeling it. She was like, no, this ain't gonna work. I don't want to see him no more. But how he said it was like he was oblivious to the fact that this happened and she felt some kind of way until later. So I'm like, I don't know, but I'm sure they were at a bar. I'm sure there were drinks involved. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. So he explains what happens. He says the same thing about the prom pose. And then he said, I was trying to, you know, I moved my hands, arms up, trying to get a more, did he say, he didn't say sensual. He said cozy pose. So I'm like, you cupped a breast or you grazed them or something of this. You did a lewd gesture or whatever it was, she didn't like it. Now, I know him and Carmen joke back and forth and they make these sexual innuendos all the time, but he must have forgot. Now, mind you, Dakia and Clifton, they make their own, and she probably has made them with him too. So I don't know if he mixed up what lady he was with or he just was being really inappropriate and it was in poor taste. But apparently they don't talk about it, but he says he needs to do some more self-reflection, thinking about himself, so he is self-eliminating. So I'm like, dang, that's Carmen's person. And Dakia, she already said that's a wrap. She don't want to talk to him no more. So he leaves the show. Next up on the X dates is Carmen and Marcus. They come in strolling. Listen, hand in hand, honey. He is a distinguished gentleman of a certain age. He is an older man. He is salt and peppered all over. He is handsome, has on a nice suit. I was like, okay, Carmen likes older men. Now, I think she might be one of the older women. She's in her 40s already. And they walk in, holding hands like they on a date together. I said, Carmen, why are you here, girlfriend? You go on back with Mr. Marcus. But anywho, Needless to say, they come in and she no longer has Eric as an option. So she is bringing Donovan and Paul. So I was like, okay, there's a little Paul thing. She likes older men. Marcus clearly is an older man. Paul comes in first, and I guess he's asked, like, what are your intentions by Marcus? And he's like, he's looking for, a girlfriend and then a fiance and then a wife, because, he's really here for marriage. It's not just to find, something for right now. He wants something for long term. And he says you have to be prepared for her to be around a lot of men, because in her industry, she's always around a lot of men. Donovan shows up, and, they hug and whatnot. Now, this I found so funny. So when the ex is saying that Carmen is around a lot of men, because at some point I thought they said she was like a sports agent, but then it says something else on the screen. So I don't really know what she does, but she apparently works with a lot of professional athletes. So it was like she works with a lot of like rich and successful men, so you have to be comfortable with that. And Paul was like, that's what I do. I'm used to it. He was like, Paul, what kind of job do you have? Legit, I feel like it said IT analyst or some kind of analyst, not a sports analyst, by the way. And when I say Carmen's face was like, it was so funny, because I was like, Paul, that's not what you're not used to that. Paul, quit playing. That's not what you used to. But it was so funny because they both looked at him like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't say anything like, I'm around celebrities or I'm around rich people. I'm around, attractive men or whatever. So he was just like, I would trust my girl, whatever. Donovan said, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm a realtor. I'm around people all the time. It's nothing. So they all talk. Donovan was really engaged in asking questions. And in the end, the guy Marcus did say he think that Donovan could handle it more and handle Carmen more. And that was his choice. Of course, Carmen says again that it's not up to him, but she will take his, whatever he said into consideration. Next up is Ace. Ace has her ex, Devin, who is all dreaded up. I was like, okay, giving me kind of Tory vibes. Ace is a certain type of person. It just seemed like she will be with like this natural, vegan. I don't know why, but like, she just gives those kind of vibes. She loves her yoga and all this good stuff. And Laverne and Tori are supposed to come and meet with her guy. They both show up. They're like, okay, this is what it is. Laverne is basically like, you know what? I'm so confident. Tori really ain't got nothing. It's just about me. I'm just about to show off. So the guy was asking, like, their jealousy level, is it 1 to 10? Laverne says it's 0 because he ain't found nobody that he needs to be intimidated by. The ex, Devon, he says, well, when I was dating Ace, she was the alpha. Laverne, you give me alpha vibes. Tori, what are you in a relationship? Are you the alpha or you allow the woman to be? Tori basically gave an answer like, I think it just depends on the vibes. Like, as long as y'all respect each other, there's like no designated alpha or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so you're not the alpha. That's basically. So maybe that'll work because, maybe it'll work. So in the end, the ex basically did not choose. He just said, if you want somebody to lead, it's going to be Laverne. But if you want to lead like you kind of did in our relationship, it's going to be Tori. She like, thank you for your time. They look like they had a little nice connection and they're friends now. Next up was Sabrina. So Sabrina was the funniest, honey. She had 3 dates. She had Demetrius. That was the first one-on-one session with the ex. So they met and he says, they got a lot in common. I think she got a type that was bearded. They were dark chocolate men. Now, Demetrius is bald and Milton was not bald. He had hair. But it was like, okay, I think Sabrina kind of got a type. They just talked about stuff. What the vibe that Milton got from him was that, what am I going to say? That he was like a strict and he wanted submissive, just like, because he is a military guy. So I think he probably gave off that vibe. And so it was like, he's a solid dude, but, I I'm just not sure if that's going to be for you because, you know, you do kind of push back. You want inclusion. That's what he told him, is that she would like to be included in things in the decision-making process and stuff like that. Where he thinks that maybe Demetrius is a guy who would just be making the decisions. Then Sabrina has Tori and Donovan come, and they both meet with Milton together. So this is like a 3 guys and her, but Demetrius is not there. So I don't know if their schedules had conflicting schedules, but at least it wasn't all 3 of them at the table at the same time. So Tori was looking crazy again because, you know, he already liked Sabrina. She was his number one. He didn't focus on nobody else. As soon as she said she liked Demetrius, it was a problem. Now he's trying to just kiss Precious on the lips and all this other. So it was just a lot going on. So now he looking crazy like, oh, now she gonna date with 3 people because he didn't even think Donovan was a thing because Donovan came in late to the game. But when I say they immediately clicked, they clicked immediately. And so he far exceeded probably Demetrius and Tori, especially Tori though. So Tori is being very uninvested, uninterested in these conversations. Donovan is asking questions and getting to know Sabrina through her ex. And yeah, she gives him a hug. You know, they all leave. They both brought her flowers. And so when they leave, the ex does say, like, basically, Demetrius is a safe one, but I think y'all might clash a little bit. But Donovan, you like him. He was like, you like him. She was like, I mean, yeah. She was like, I like both of these guys. Demetrius is my strongest connection. But then Donovan came and surprised me in 4 leaps and bounds. Basically, you know, he came with it. So she listens, and he does say Donovan probably for her, which I like them 2 together, and I actually think that's who I think she should end up with. And next up is Tina. So Tina brings Paul and Demetrius because she's been, you know, hanging out with them both. She's the younger girl, the youngest girl. She was in her early 30s, like 31 or something. And then her guy comes, and it's so funny because he's young. And Paul is like, now her boyfriend young, while she's saying she date all these older men. Because Paul is the oldest at like 47, 48. I can't remember how old, but he's the oldest. And so he did notice that her ex was younger. And yeah, Demetrius says that he is divorced and he knows that it was his fault. He's had therapy and got through. The guy gave him a little pound, like, okay, that's good, you did your work. They just have a conversation. I don't really see her with a strong connection with either of those 2 guys, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I think, was it Demetrius? One of them said like they hadn't really heard from her. But anyway, she's newer. She came when Donovan came. So I think her connections wouldn't be as strong with any of these people as some of the other ones are. They do talk about, I guess this guy, the ex, cheated on her or something. Because he do talk about how she'll cut you off. She'll ghost you. She did that to me. Demetrius was like, that is kind of a red flag. She was like, yeah, but you won't tell what you did. So I was like, well, they don't have that good friendship type of ex relationship. But either way, the guys talk to him and that's it. Next up is Dakia and Clifton and her ex. So Eric is no longer there. So this is the only guy that she's meeting, and it's Clifton. And I will say he warmed up a little bit more. He's still talking about, I don't need to meet nobody exes. Ain't nothing they could tell me. I could learn it from her myself. But he wasn't as on guard as he was with Joy and her ex, because he did come unknowingly to meet the ex. So, he was like, well, I'm going to see how she acts with me. So they were like super flirty. He was like, I'm going to see if she flirt back. Because if she does, then that means that they don't got nothing still going on. But if she don't, then she do. He was like, I should have did that more with Joy or whatever. Now, he didn't do it, but he thought he should have. And so the ex at some point was like, okay, y'all, cut it out. I am still sitting here. But they had a good conversation. The guy said he liked him, but he didn't really have nothing else to go on. It was just him. So then they're at the ladies' lounge. Tommy is like, Eric has self-eliminated. I think you all should know. Karma and Side-Eye and Dakia. Dakia's like, I think that's best. He needs to reflect on himself. None of the other women ever said anything that we could see, at least if they edited out or whatever. We didn't see them talking on the subject matter. But the fact that he self-eliminated, I feel like he felt like he did do something wrong. And she felt bad about it. So they get to like, who is in your bottom? Basically, it comes all the way down to Laverne and Tori. Now, Sabrina takes Laverne out, and then Dakia takes Tori out. And Dakia was like, oh, Tori over there looking good. We've never actually been out on a date together. Like, you know, they go through the whole little rigmarole. But eventually she does let Tori know that he is still ready to love. But like, he had been like checking out. And Sabrina was like, I found out he kissed Precious, like to get back at me for the Truth or Dare game when I said Demetrius was my number one. And she was like, it's just not making sense. And so, of course, it's not turning me on to him. It's kind of turning me off to him. So he was at the bottom. Now, Laverne, of course, Ace is still his top connection, but he is on the bottom too. None of the other women are really feeling him. They say he's really surface level. Joy took him out on a date, so she and Ace may be the only two really feeling him. So as soon as he gets there with Sabrina, now they ain't never been on a date before either, and they rubbed each other the wrong way from the get-go. He was like, I already know what it is. I know you, Tina, and Carmen been out to get me since last week. Whoop, 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 whoop. I know what it is. You can all say it, so you can tell me I'm not ready to love. I'm about to leave. Like, he was going in. She was like, calm down. Like, let's just, because she went to give him a hug at first, and he pulled back. I was like, oh, Laverne, that was a little rude. She called him out and like, you being real rude right now. Like, just... And so they end up getting a little shouting match, honey. She leaves. He was like, you gonna get cussed out. It was just a mess. It was very disrespectful, all this stuff. But he was pissed off. She got pissed off. And he was not ready to love. And he went home. It was a mess. Okay, guys. So now we on to episode number 8. Because remember, this is a 2-for-1. Y'all get episode number 8. Operation Meet the Homie. So now it's the reverse. The women are meeting the friend of the guys. Not the ex, but their friends. So, they're in the gentleman's lounge, and Tommy basically was like, you know what? Your boy gonna be able to tell you, if they gonna fit into your life. Because you might not be paying attention to everything, but they will. Donovan was like, my best friend was actually on this journey last season. So, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get us a little cameo from last season. But first up is Paul and his friend Chill Bill, honey. Chill Bill is there. He didn't came to town. And he's meeting with Tina and Dakia. So I'm sitting here like, what the heck? I guess since Dakia and Eric is a no-go, they done made some more connections. Because remember, she didn't even introduce nobody else to her ex. But apparently in that week, her and Paul didn't start making a connection. So that was interesting. Dakia is already sitting there. She having a little conversation with Chill Bill. He's telling her the difference between Paul, who he is now, and P.O., who he used to be, P.O.J. Because back in the day, he said he the post office, he deliver. But they thought Gigolo started with a J. And it stuck. So he been P.O.J. all this time. So she, laughing. That was back in the 5th grade when this happened. He was a rapper or whatever. So, yeah, she's vibing with Chill Bill. Then Carmen shows up. And Dakia can't help but to point out over the confessional that you got them blue contacts in your eyes again, honey. Didn't Clifton tell you that those was not cute? Those was not the move? She looking crazy because I literally hate when people wear color contacts, honey, unless your eyes is color. And then you still wear clear because your eyes already color. Listen, she got these blue contacts on. I be so annoyed when she does that. Clifton said it day one. He didn't like them. But I guess he got over them. But she has not been wearing them every day. But she got them in today, and Dakia notices, and she thinks she don't like it either. Let's put it that way. Okay, so she talking, and Chill Bill, tell him about P.O.J. again. And she was like, no, he is not P.O. I don't know who that is. I call him Paul. And he will be Paul from this day forward. You can meet Paul, you and the rest of the world. That is all he's going to be. I'm like, girl, you acting extra bougie right now. Yes, basically Carmen walks up and she's surprised that Dakia was there when she came. And she's like, yes, I don't know what she's doing here. He needs to get rid of the zero and get him a hero. And all this stuff. She, Bill tells her, you know what, you look like you'll control your man. Yeah, so needless to say, he thinks that Dakia is the better fit for Paul. But basically what he says is it just depends if you want to be P.O.J., go with her. But if you want to be Paul, if you're ready to be just Paul, then just go with the other girl. So next up is Tori. Tori has his best friend Ash. I guess his name is Ashley, but he goes by Ash because he's more masculine. And Sabrina and Ace are both supposed to be coming. Sabrina comes first. They're having a chat. She's getting to know their friend. You know, he's asking her questions. She has questions. She brought him a little gift, which is just a candle. She says he always brings her gifts, so she wants to bring him one, which was a nice gesture. They're off to a good start. However, Ace does not show up. So the man, like always, the other person to come, he was like, I don't know, let me call her. Right in the middle of the day, pulls out the phone and calls. So Sabrina is like, this is awkward. Like, you sitting here literally gonna call her in the middle of our day. Like, he could have probably just sent her a text. I think that probably would have been sufficient. Or possibly stepped away to say, like, hey, let me make sure everything is good. Sabrina, so he calls. Ace does not answer the phone. Ace does not show up. Sabrina and the friend had a good time for what it was worth. Tori was just basically in his head like that. Ace didn't show up. He kind of been off of Sabrina here and there. He just don't know where he want to be. Sabrina was just like, okay, this is just very awkward. Ace never shows up. Sabrina leaves. The friend, of course, likes Sabrina, but he never got to see Ace. Next up is Demetrius. And his best friend is Kenneth, or he goes by Ken. And he is introducing him to Sabrina. So Demetrius is another one who actually only had Sabrina initially. But I think he did go out with Tina, but he didn't introduce Tina to his best friend. So anyway, they both had on plaid pants. Now, her outfit was kind of cute, I guess. It was fine. It looked a little weird to me. I didn't like it, but they was matching with their plaid pants. And basically, they asked, like, what are you looking for? A serious relationship. When was your last one? That's what the friend asked. She tells him that she wasn't married and that she's divorced. But she has dated since she was divorced. And she asked what kind of woman does Demetrius need. The friend says he needs somebody that's submissive. Honey, when I say that word, I almost took out. Now, this is strange coming from a woman who was previously married, right? Because doesn't the Bible say that women submit to their husbands? But listen, she don't like the word. She's like, I want a voice. I want to be able to say stuff. I want to be included in the decisions. I don't know about this whole submissiveness. And, I want to be in charge of my own life. I want to be in charge of some things. And so Demetrius does say, it kind of could be a red flag, but he kind of knows her. He thinks that they vibe together. So he doesn't really see it as a big problem. So that was all. Next up is Clifton and his boy Kenny, and he's going to meet Joy and Dykea. So it's funny because although Joy and Clifton has a connection, him and Dykea's connection has been growing over time as well, and they've never actually all been in the same space. So that Joy does say it's cool to see his interactions with Dykea. She didn't know that they were, as close, but they got chemistry, and Dykea gonna have to see it. What I do like about both of these women is she was like, oh, it was actually kind of good to see Dykea because they'll be seeing each other. They both were unaffected by the other ones being there. Carmen, when she was there with Dykea, it was all of this like shade and pick you a hero. She always got something negative to say, but that's how it was even with Eric back in the day. But with Joy and Dykea, they just like, we both here, we both like him, and it's made the best woman win. They didn't have nothing negative to say about each other, whatever. The friend likes both of them. He was like, he really got a chance to see who Joy was. He likes Dykea. But he just thinks it's Joy. Basically, he really got to know he got good vibes from her and better personality. He saw more of it. So that's who he chose. But Clifton was like, that's cool, buddy, but I still like Dykea, and so I'm still just torn. Next up is Donovan, and his friend is from season 5, Phil. Phil, who actually left the show with Sydney, who apparently they were still together when this was filming because he said that I'd have been on the show, I know what it is, and he brought Sabrina and Tina. Now, Tina is the girl who came the same week as him, and I was like, that's strange too, because she didn't bring him to meet her people. She brought Paul and Demetrius, but I guess she is the top of his, even though he wasn't the top of hers, something like that. So she shows up, and she's very disengaged with the whole thing. She's talking about how, she likes him because he allows her to be herself. Like she was having a bad day one day, and, he called and talked to her about it. Phil and Donovan have been friends for like 12 years. And he's been here before. So he's like, give me the reels. He's talking to Sabrina, talking about her last relationships and if she's ready for all of this. And asked what she likes about Donovan. She says basically like no, that's what he asked. He asked Tina first, like, what are your other connections? And Tina was like, I have other connections, but Donovan is one of the highest. He was like, listen, I've been here before. I already know what that means. You got a lot of other connections. Serena was like, I do. I have a few connections. However, Donovan came late in the game, but he leapfrogged over the rest of them. So like she was like, he my number one basically. And yeah. Basically, that was it. That was all she wrote. I can't remember what exactly Phil said. Like, he had seen Donovan with his highs and his lows. And then Sabrina was like, oh, that gave me the idea, like, he might be trying to find himself because he, too, is divorced. She was like, at first I thought that was a good thing. But she don't know if it's, like, too soon after his divorce and if he's trying to, like, date around first or whatever. So that gave her a little bit of pause. But she really likes him. Phil tells Donovan it's time for you to be selfish. I know you like a couple of these women, but it's time for you to be selfish and look after you. And he was like, yeah, you're right. He said one of the things that did get him is like, so Tina has the 2-year-old, and she was very disengaged. But now he's like, I know you have 2 kids and Sabrina is ready to start a family. So is that something you want? And he's like, he wasn't really interested in having kids, but he would do that for his wife if that's what she wanted. So that's not a deal breaker. Okay, next up, Paul takes that kid on the first date. He was like, after, that little date he had, he wanted to really get to know her more because they had never actually been on a real date. She just met his friend, but he hadn't had a real date with her. So they go on a date, and it seems like they have a lot in common. They compliment one another. It seemed like she really liked Paul, and yeah, they cheers to potential. She said, they've been talking, but they haven't really hung out. But it was a real cool day. Next up is Tori, and he actually takes Ace out. Like, Ace, you ain't showed to my date. I'm feeling feeling some kind of way about it. And basically, long story short, Ace is saying, Tori, I don't feel you like you feel me. I feel like you are friends. I was here to find my connection. Laverne was my connection. Laverne is no longer here. I'm going to pursue something. She didn't necessarily say Laverne that she's pursuing, but I'm assuming that's what it is. But she was like, I'm going to pursue something outside of here, and, I'm going to self-eliminate. So he was like, thanks for letting me know. But I was like, girl, you could have told him I'm not going to make it. Like, you ain't just have to, like, ghost his butt. Stand him up on his best friend date. Yeah. So then there's the gentleman's lounge. Tori has to break the news that Ace has self-eliminated. And Tommy's like, what? If any of y'all decide to do this, please call me. Because this how this thing works. You don't just get to say you're not going to be nowhere and stop filming and all that stuff. Anyway, they go and talk about their dates. Let Tommy in on what happened. Who their tops are. He's like, who y'all not feeling and everything. But long story short, Tommy was like, you know what? Basically, Ace self-eliminated, so that's the end of that. So I'm going to give y'all another week. Y'all need more time. I'm like, it's basically because somebody is gone, and it probably was going to be her anyway. She probably felt that, because if Laverne is gone, it's you, boo. Anywho, he said, you know what? It's time for the getaway. Y'all finna go on a weekend getaway, 2 days, 2 nights, and yeah, all these people are coming. Now, that is it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these next 2 seasons. My top couples right now, still Clifton and Joy. I am shipping Donovan and Sabrina. They may have leaped over everybody to my top. Yeah, right now, those are my 2 top couples. What are y'all's? Let me know in the comments below. If y'all have not already liked this video, like it, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share my video. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified each and every single time I post. And yeah, let me know what y'all thought about this week's episode and the week before. Until next time, see ya.